Yeah. Look, it looks very bullish from here on out. This year, this is why I'm really reticent. So I'm never going to name numbers. I'm really reticent because this year looks more bullish than even I expected. But what is really interesting is the everything code also just matches the log channel. And it's not to do with the halving. The halving happens to be coincidental with the big reset. People talk about the big reset to come. We had the big reset in 2008.
In this video, venture capitalist, crypto investor, and Real Vision founder and CEO Raoul discusses why he's bullish on the crypto market heading into the new year. Raoul's confidence is built around his thesis, called the Everything Code. Raoul believes that the debt jubilee that most people are expecting, an event he calls the Big Reset, has already occurred. This event, which occurred in 2008 during the global financial collapse that ultimately led to the birth of Bitcoin, saw most of the major nations drop interest rates to zero. Raoul believes that this act of forgoing interest is the debt jubilee that many experts are still expecting. More importantly, Raoul believes this act has created a cyclicality around the interest payments on the debts. Raoul explains that in order to service the debt, the Fed has to print more money, which leads to the debasement of currency and an optical rise in asset prices. He explains that while asset prices may rise, in reality, most of them don't rise enough to even counteract the debasement, resulting in a net loss. Raoul explains that the only two asset classes that provide enough returns to grow your wealth in spite of this debasement are crypto and technology. He also touches on exactly how he expects the market to behave, the ETF, institutional investment, why he's bullish, and more on the Everything Code. Let's dive right in.
And there was only one hypothesis to test. Is this technology going away or not? That was the only hypothesis you had to have. And if you didn't see evidence of it going away, or use cases dying, and the other thing that backed up my theories were we saw, $60 billion of VC money go in? So there's an incredible amount of startups building new projects, building new areas, which will form the next foundation for the bull market. Now, we've never seen that much money in the space before. I mean, it's like 10x the size of the entire hedge fund market in crypto. Just went in like basically 2 years. So you have to start betting on the outcomes of that. What does it mean? What are the opportunities that are going to come that we don't realize? We know there's infrastructure stuff. I know you guys are involved in kind of the ZK side and all sorts of stuff there. We're also seeing some new layer ones. Do they help or not help? Who knows? But we're also seeing, I think, people working on how to get mass adoption. What is the consumerization? So yeah, with all of those macro factors, with peak macro pessimism as well, I started getting long the equity market for the same reason. It's like the pessimism was obscene. People attacking everybody who could be vaguely bullish made me think, okay, if the liquidity cycle is turned, we know what happens, which is over this period, the economy will weaken. So the probability of more liquidity, or more cowbell, as I put it, comes back into the market. And therefore, forward-looking asset prices, technology, crypto.
So far, Raoul has explained the reason for his conviction on crypto. He also briefly provided unique insight as to why crypto and the Nasdaq are the only two investments that make sense. From there, he discusses the ETF, institutional investment, the Everything Code, and more on crypto.
The ETF is the chink of light on the other side. Now, the ETF in itself doesn't cause a stampede. If you launch the ETF between June and October, you would have had zero uptake. But the ETF, as price is rising, becomes very powerful. Because most people in this space are momentum investors, particularly the RIAs, the pension plans and others. Most people the institutions have done the work on this space, and all they need is price because they don't want to look stupid. Everyone's investment committees beat them over the head saying, see, you were stupid thinking about this. But everybody I speak to, it's still on their plan. I mean, don't forget, BlackRock were talking about this during the last cycle. Remember they had Bitcoin on their website and he was talking about, Fink was saying, we've had more hits on our website than we've ever had in history. They've been thinking about this through, as have most of the big players. So it feels that as the darkness is on NFTs, we see the light coming for new capital into the space, and then it flows through. And again, very typically in a cycle, you start with the benchmark asset, Bitcoin, that outperforms. Then as the capital comes into the space, because each other part of the space is less liquid, you put the same amount of money in, as it spreads down, it causes an outsized reaction in other parts of the space. So what the space does need is new capital, because we've been recycling capital for a while. It's the same with economies. It flows through, and we'll see, again, stuff like the ETH Bitcoin outperformance begin again. Now, interesting enough, I've been digging on work on that too, and I found that's entirely correlated to the business cycle. That I've got a certain set of indicators that kind of suggest when that happens, and it's based on liquidity. So it's the same thing. That seems to explain 97% of the entire price movement of the NASDAQ and about 87.5% of Bitcoin. The reason why Bitcoin actually has a lower correlation than the NASDAQ is because of the up cycles, because the adoption rate is so high.
Because it goes up.
The blow off tops, right? That is the reason, because the compounding of that. But other than that, it's all driven by this fact, is actually debasement of currency. So debasement of fiat currency is a thing that most people don't understand because it's not obvious. But when you are printing more of a currency, particularly when all the central banks are doing it, you're lowering the denominator. So that is what is driving almost all asset prices. So once I started adjusting for that, I realized there was two assets that did better than anything else. Everything else, like equities divided by the Fed balance sheet, is a simple way.
In this video, Raoul Pal has explained his everything code and why crypto is poised to continue to outperform conventional investments. The everything code is based around the idea that the cyclicality of debt interest payments coincides with the halving event, but Raoul has provided insight into what he believes is causing the price action. This unique point of view provides valuable insight into potential price action. Raoul's thesis on the exchange-traded fund ETF has also been vindicated in that Bitcoin and the entire crypto market cap lost a significant amount of value post-ETF approval. However, this is good news, because if Raoul is right, as the price drops and institutions find entry points, the crypto market is primed for an explosion in value. What do you think about Raoul's thesis and predictions? To see the latest in crypto news, watch this video here.